Roy here. It is Tuesday, everybody. Tuesday, the 26th of May. I guess I should have looked at the date too. And here we are. This is one of our live sessions for, of course, anyone who happens to be tuning in, but specifically put forth for our friends at our West Babylon Public Library program that's been suspended since March. And a word about that. If everything moves forward as planned, these Tuesday morning sessions at 10:15 on Facebook Live are going to go away after this one. For the library is starting remote programming beginning in June. So we should have, albeit remotely, our class back a week from today for West Babylon. Now, that's not the case with the Monday offering. That's, again, for the greater community, but specifically for the folks who are missing their Sachem Public Library program that begins, that usually starts at 10 a.m. on Monday. So we are continuing the Facebook Live sessions on Monday. So we'll be here at 10 a.m. June 1st with something for Sachem and the greater community. But today, West Babylon one more time. So there's that. It's looking likely like there will not be a International World Tai Chi Day this year. So I do not believe I will be doing an additional live session on Saturday morning at 10 a.m., but that still remains a possibility. So you might want to keep your eyes open for that. We'll make an announcement on Friday if it's going to move forward. And I think that's kind of all the news that's fit to print or whatever. So we'll get started. Back away from the camera now. As some of you know who've been tuning into these, sometimes there's an issue with my video feed and we can't see what I'm doing and where I am on camera. That's been pretty consistent the last few sessions. For some reason, for West Babylon more than Sachem. I don't get it. So that probably Tuesday is more to do than it's about West Babylon. But anyway, so if that happens, I'll let you know. So you'll understand why at times I'm cutting off my head and I may not realize it, or stepping out of your line of sight, or not centered very well, that sort of thing. So today, what we're going to do today is, of course, a little warm up. We're going to pull something from Taiji Qigong, one of our favorite individual warm up pieces in the studio. And when we bring it into programs like West Babylon as a single warm up or part of a warm up set for other programs, a lot of people like it. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And it plays fairly well into what I'd like our focus to be today, which is manifesting the shadow opponents. So we'll talk about that a little bit when we get to it, but first we're going to do our little warm-up. So feet about shoulder wide, as close parallel as possible. And we'll start with our usual shake. I like my shirt. Some of you may know I'm actually born and bred Iowan. To start with, I guess I have many more years in the Midwest than I do on the East Coast. Don't wear this shirt very often. Usually I only wear it like the week before we're going to go visit family or something like that. And of course, that's not happening. It was supposed to in May. We had a few days set aside, but given COVID-19, not going to do it. We'll get there eventually. But I thought I'd wear it and just point out, sometimes you may hear me say under my breath, oh, that's my Iowan showing. And it's at moments like showing instead of showing, at fur instead of for. Purdy, that's my favorite. It's pretty much my favorite instead of pretty. My dialect still slides every once in a while. Okay, I actually just feel really good about doing this shake right now. So the warm-up that we're going to do from Taiji Qigong is large bear swing in water. If you participated in our live Facebook event for the actual original World Tai Chi Day date, on April 25th. This was, I believe, the last piece of Tai Chi Qigong we did before we called into that session. So it involves an undulation. That's why I'm turning sideways. And you want that undulation to be through the whole body. No part of the body is not involved. I'm not holding the head still, right? I'm not doing that bird in the glass of water thing and just folding like a hinge in my hips. I want that forward and back undulation. And notice, as I'm doing this, that in just letting the arms hang, when I fall into this position, where do my hands and my arms go? This way. When I roll back, where do they go? That way. That continues to be the pattern for large bear swimming in water. Now, traditionally, we just keep the delicate lady hands, beautiful lady hands throughout, just the relaxed, slightly cupped palm. But we do a little non-traditional approach here where we have lightly, very lightly formed spear hands. I'm not driving to the fingers like I'm going to strike with the spear hand. His fingers are together and the palms are a little bit beyond, right? They're not cupped like that. Because if we're driving the hands forward to slice through the water, we have cupped hands, to me, we'd be pressing ourselves backwards. And then we turn and the palms come back. Now, we allow for modification here because people have issues with their shoulders, the flexibility in their chest and their back. We don't want to go so far back that we can collapse the back and overextend the chest. So as I pull back, one of my considerations is I still want to keep my slightly sunken chest and at least slightly rounded back. And the height of those arms are also going to depend upon shoulder mobility. So ideally, they should come in at around shoulder height. Oops, get the rhythm here. But if that's tweaky on your shoulders, go a little bit lower. Now we have a set breath pattern that we would like to do with large bear swimming in water. And it would follow the same pattern if you were a bear doing the breaststroke. In other words, at this point, my head is underwater, so this would be the exhalation. At this point, my head's coming up out of the water would be the inhalation. But breathe when you have to. Bring the breath into the movement and the movement into the breath. So feet shoulder wide, we're going to breathe into this. I'm going to do one more little shake. Step back a little bit. Settle in. We start in vertical alignment, chin from parallel, slight tuck down, crown point of the head held, not lifted to the heavens. We're also continuing on our YouTube channel as well. Generally, one video a week. We just finished a 2-part series last week. And on Friday, posted the finished product of sort of a deep drill into Young Chen Fu's 10 essential points. And that followed the week previous, the Thursday, I think, the week previous, the 10 essential points according to Chen Sang Feng. Not sure what we're doing this week. We got about 3-4 different ideas in the hopper. We'll see. I'm going to breathe into this. So start to feel and be aware of when you're inhaling and when you're exhaling. Can't talk this morning, apparently. Find an aspect of the breath to float the palms down. Then find an inhalation to rotate the wrist, palms up, fingertips forward. Exhalation, beginning that first undulation forward. Now I mentioned, and then maybe an inhalation back. And an exhalation forward. That this is a good exercise given what my chosen focus is for our time together this morning. Because you want to feel the viscosity of the air like you are swimming in air as we would in our Tai Chi, right? I'm pulling myself through the water, slicing the water as I drive the hands forward. And ideally, this is the exhalation, but breathe when you have to. And ideally, this is the inhalation. And again, getting the whole body involved. Now you'll notice, maybe, hopefully, that the undulation with the drive and the pull of the hands and the arms in the two directions, driving forward, pulling back, is a little bit different than the one that I was manifesting when the arms were just hanging. You get more of the body involved. Things change. You can go a little bit faster. I was doing that, right? Go a little bit slower. Breathe. Relax and release. Remember, Water Tiger School's approach to Tai Chi Qigong is the breath and the movement are not two separate things. It's not like I'm moving and, oh yeah, I just happen to be breathing. It's not that I'm breathing and, oh yeah, I just happen to be moving. Without one, the other wouldn't exist. I'm going to turn this way again so you can see maybe a little bit better. My elbows are at least slightly open here. I'm not going straight, eliminating the joints. You can also see that, hopefully in the extension forward, that I still have room left in my joints. We're going to go, I don't know, maybe about 4 more, about 3 more, about 2 more, feeling that water, opening up the body, everything is moving. Gonna go 1 more after this. So the closing, a little tricky. I know I'm gonna close. So I pull through almost as if going around again, but the undulation in. So palms turn down and float in after a slight rounding. Feet are still shoulder wide, still mostly parallel. And close. Left foot to right, hands up over the top of the ball, crown point of the head, base of the pelvic bowl, ball of the right foot. Hands in, left foot in. Hands down, pressing the heel down. Redividing the weight equally between the 2 feet, and a little rebound. Pulls the hands to the acupuncture point for the Xia Dantian. On the center line, lower abdominal cavity, more or less where the elbow bends and comes into contact with that center line, is about where they need to be. Left over right, right over left. Your choice. So there's large bear swimming in water. So some of you might have said to yourself at the beginning of this, when I said, oh, we're going to spend some time in manifesting the shadow opponent, what the heck does that mean? Well, Tai Chi is often referred to as Chinese shadow boxing. And the reason for that is the intent that we're supposed to have, martial intent, but what some people would call martial non-combat intent, because you're not really fighting, you're moving in slow motion, but you want the intent, the martial intent, needs to be there. And that is how we come to swim in air. That all of the movements have purpose. They have meaning within the context of doing something martially. Some of them are hidden, but can still manifest subtly in the way that you are moving, because you're swimming in air. I'm reaching with the heel as I'm taking my step, regardless if you're doing, a Tai Chi walk or shoulder wide, right? Turn out the right foot to the 45. And as I step, even though I want the foot to relax and I'm not overdoing a dorsiflex or anything, I'm driving to the heel, which is at its heart a heel kick. If I'm walking backwards, as in repulsing the monkey, again, as I lift the foot and step back and I'm going to the ball of the foot as I'm walking back, it's a mule kick, right? So it helps to give you that intent if you have the shadow opponent. So yes, it helps to understand what the basic martial application is for each of the postures. So if you don't know in the form that you're doing you should probably have that conversation with your instructor or do some research. So you have that. But even without understanding, without having that understanding or that teaching, you can probably figure most of the basic martial applications out and what the different hands are doing at different times. Now, a word about that. Many of us come to Tai Chi only for the health benefits. Perfectly understandable, more power to you. That's where your focus should be. But to reap all the rewards of the health benefits, your movement has to have this intent. It's good that you're moving. Don't get me wrong. That in and of itself is exercise and is good for you. But if you want to reap all of the rewards of this internal art that we play, you need to develop this kind of intent. And if you are not now, never have been, and never plan on being a fighter, that's fine. One, you still need to develop the martial intent. And maybe you need to spend some time schooling yourself a little bit about combat. So, choose your movies carefully because you don't want anything too violent. A lot of the Jackie Chan movies have a lot of comedy in them. So maybe, that's where you want to go. But study fight scenes in movies and on television. Dissect them a little bit. How are they blocking? How are they striking? Now, granted, most of the fight scenes that you see in movies are more hard, force-on-force kind of blocks and very extreme. But every once in a while, you will see, soft blocks and that sort of thing as well. However, it gives you a better idea of what you should be recreating in your own body when you're playing. I'll get off my soapbox, or in that case, yoga block. So every movement, everywhere, feel the reality, like we talked about in Large Bear Swimming in Water. The reality of the movement and what you're doing. If we take, my go-to is always our Partying the Wild Horses Main and Water Tiger School. So detailing the lower body, our feet are shoulder wide, and shoulder width is determined by where the heels are, right? So if I turn my toes in toward my center line, but I turned on my heels, I'm still shoulder wide. If I turn my toes out, but turned on my heels, I'm still shoulder wide because my heels are shoulder wide. So the stance that we want for Partying the Wild Horses Main takes what's going to be the back foot. In my case, I'm going to use my right foot. I'm going to turn it out to around a 45-degree angle, right? Not straight forward, not straight to the wall to my side, but about halfway in between. Now, the reason that I say about halfway in between is, yes, halfway in between, straight forward into the side, is a 45-degree angle. But your foot, your ankle, your knee may not be comfortable at the 45. So adjust as you need to. Now, without bringing my feet any closer together from side to side, I'm going to step the left foot a little bit forward. Toes for us, for our front foot, forward or in toward the center line. Where you don't want to be when you settle the weight into the front leg is toes in front, out and away from the body. So I got about 60-70% of the weight on my front foot. I got about 30-40% of my weight on my back foot. And as I turn forward, hips and shoulders are square, back heel driving down into the earth, like a mule kick going downward and back. Right? So that's the lower body. If I do a rocking exercise, I turn toward my back leg, but my right knee stays pointed the same direction as my right toes. I'm not pushing that knee sideways out of the way. I'm sitting down in the back leg and sitting forward. Sitting down in the back leg, sitting forward. Sitting down in the back leg, sitting forward. And so Partying the Wild Horses Main begins by forming a ball. And notice, even in that sort of formation of the ball, not just sort of willing to, okay, there's the ball, right? But actually coming in to that movement, hand on top, hand on bottom. So even moving into the beginning of the process, you might be able to see how this hand could be sweeping something aside, a punch, a kick coming in there. Same thing with the hand at the top of the ball. it could be pressing something that way as it comes into the top of the ball, right? And the ball is real. It has substance without weight. Then when I turn forward, what I am seeing, well, maybe you can just see it. This hand goes down and to the side as the other hand rises up and ends pretty much at the center of my chest. So there's the movement from, and as I move back, again, look at those hands. An upward top of hand block moving up. Again, this hand sweeping sideways. This hand down, fingertips close together, this hand up. So maybe you already see it. But what is happening is a punch is coming in this direction. It's as if somebody is here throwing a punch toward me, toward my face. And what I'm doing, catching that punch, not catching it, not literally grabbing, but accepting the energy of that punch coming in, deflecting it down and to the side. And in that space between their arm and the side of their body, I'm striking up inside. And that's parting the wild horses. Now, a couple of words about your shadow opponent. Look at yourself in the mirror. That's your shadow opponent. You are. Your shadow opponent is your height, your weight, your arm length, your leg length. They step like you do. They extend like you do. Hopefully they don't lean like you do. Neither of you should lean. But they are you. The other thing to remember about your shadow opponent is that they are a shadow opponent and they are you. And they happen to do whatever it is you need them to do at the moment you need them to do it in the way you need them to do it. In other words, right? My shadow opponent isn't punching me from this side because then this doesn't work. My shadow opponent isn't throwing an elbow, isn't doing a straight punch from that side. It's slightly angled because, again, that's the best way to manifest the posture itself. And it teaches us how to move in given circumstances that then we can begin to explore if we want to apply Tai Chi martially. If we don't, then this is enough. Just knowing. Punches coming in, feel it. Right? What does that arm feel like? What are is it a bear arm? Not the arm of a bear, but is it sans clothes, right? Is your shadow opponent in a t-shirt like you are? Or is your shadow opponent wearing long sleeves? So you have the sleeve there. Feel it. What's the temperature? Right? Feel that redirection. Feel the force coming in. Feel it deflect down and come up. And now feel coming into contact with them and pressing forward. The trick here is that I'm feeling those things. But again, they're doing exactly what I need them to do in the way that I need them to do it, which means like water, they're parting. They're going with the movement. So I don't have to force anything. This does not become, strike them every muscle taut. No, right? We did that a couple of weeks ago or a week ago with our Dalton X play in one of the live sessions about making everything tense. And although my martial intent should be able to be seen as I move, seeing the punch come in, I see the punch come in, I deflect down. Hopefully you can see that that hand is doing something as it's moving down, that this arm and hand is doing something as it's moving up on either side. It's not just willy-nilly. This hand goes down, this hand goes up. That hand goes down, that hand goes up. Right? They're alive. They have purpose in their movement. So you play with that, feeling what it is that you need to feel. Right? We have in the 24 posture form, we repeat parting the wild horse's mane 3 times. So as you move through it, You're dispatching one. Shadow opponent, not invisible partner. I had somebody recently in a remote session call them the invisible partner. And again, even here, maybe these subtle turns to the wrist, moving into block, or somebody's grabbed and you're twisting free. The movement has purpose. Blocking over to this side, coming in, blocking into that side, prepping, striking up after I've opened them up to that side. I strike in up over underneath. Then they could immediately become somebody else. They've come back. They've been pressed back. The next person is coming in with their arms extended. I'm separating. Coming in on the arms, there's a knee. Of course, more subtle than that. Boom. White crane. Ball kick. Palm block. Palm block. Somebody's coming in from behind. It's a kidney shot. I'm pressing it out. Another block. Another block. And maybe even in the context of the 24, now I'm taking that hand at that point that is punched this way. I'm taking it down and striking into it. Boom. Brush, knee, step, and strike itself. Let me close that because I can't give people grief about not closing if I don't close. Brush, knee, step, and strike. The first one can be a relatively uncomplicated application because, again, I can take that same punch that I saw there, route it down, opening them up. You might argue that that would bring that side of their body, that punch in dramatically, and you'd be right. But this hand is coming in. It can do a block if it needs to. Otherwise, it's striking. But after that, within the context of the form, once again, these shadow opponents can appear and disappear, can change what they're doing as you need them to. They are not real, but we make them real. Right after that first brush, knee, step, and strike, now what I can see is the punches coming in from this side. I'm blocking it up and over that way. Switching the block, again, opening them up and striking in underneath. Or I can simply dispatch someone here, deflecting somebody who's running at me to go by me, and then somebody else is kicking or punching there, and that's what that hand is. Boom. So you have options, but you always have to explore that intent to be swimming in air. By the way these shadow opponents appear and disappear, Mesmer Sifu at Black Dragon School back in the day always referred to this kind of play, this kind of focus in your practice as suddenly 1,000 ninjas all dressed in black descend from the ceiling at once. So you have all of these different attackers doing whatever they need to do, but they're you. You don't have short ninjas and tall ninjas. You don't have thick ninjas and thin ninjas. You have ninjas that are you. Your shadow opponent is you. So we want to understand that our movement, regardless, even opening, we've done a couple of deep drills into opening over the years. One here since late March. Right? Every movement in opening, even as I drop my hands, I'm relaxing to then separate. Right? I'm giving somebody who maybe has me in a bear hug the sense that, oh, he's surrendering to me, to suddenly break that surrender. Then again, somebody's coming at me with two hands extended. I'm coming up to separate them. Boom. And pulling down, which means I could knee, or I could just pull them down. Pull them down, step to the side. Boom. Second time, again, a break. Down a second time, pivoting, pressing down. opening up. Again, separating, maybe it's a forearm block. Find what works for you. That's why I'm using maybe and perhaps as language. You have to make sure, however, that the choices you make as you move repulse the monkey. Single whip, wave hands like clouds. Wave hands like clouds is a favorite, right? Because it's quite literally wax on and wax off with a little bit different perspective. You have to make sure that what you are seeing, what you are manifesting, still manifests the posture in the way that they should be manifest, right? I'm not, again, it's not a straight punch, because if it's a straight punch, it's going to be a different forming of the ball. Slightly round at a certain height, right? I'm not going to come into this position holding the ball to catch the punch if they're punching my gut. Oh, I have to block down here. So make sure that you're mapping out your shadow opponent correctly, that they're not standing too far away from you, so you have to overextend. They're right there. You're in each other's space. And that way, everything is the way that it needs to be. And again, as I move into this, I am striking. And just as we have been speaking about on the YouTube channel the last couple of videos, I'm not showing you that I'm striking you. There's not a grimace on my face. There's not a furrow in my brow. You don't really see the striations in the arm, the muscles and the veins popping in the arm. But you can see that I'm pushing the palm and settling the wrist and coming into that final position, coming into contact and striking. So I mentioned wave hands like clouds. Our cloud hands in movement, I'm not stepping, I know, is this series. More or less blocks, but also keep in mind, just as we tend to focus on this punch coming in toward my face, and it's a knife edge of the hand block, soft, because the punch is coming in this way, boom. But you also have the ridge hand block down here. So it's not this hand's just swinging in an arm dead. It has purpose as well. And the same as you come back. So yes, left hand, wax on. Right hand, wax off. But the difference is Mr. Miyagi and Daniel LaRusso's wax on met a punch that was coming in this way and stopped it. And wax off was meeting a punch coming in this way and stopped it. That is not what we're doing. Tai Chi is a soft and an internal art. By soft, I do not meet force on force. I blend with the force coming in. I change it, I redirect it, I use it against my opponent, shadow or otherwise, right? So for their wax on, we would do wax off. The punch is coming in here, I'm redirecting it there. The punch is coming in here, I would redirect it there. And the idea here is that if they're throwing punch after punch after punch and you keep blocking, eventually this isn't going anywhere. Or you have the option, right? Did you see the pattern? Right? Blocking, 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 blocking. Well, better than that. Blocking, 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 blocking. Okay, they're not going anywhere. Blocking, here's the top of the ball, down, step in, and you have parting while horses may. And you go into other things martially from cloud hands. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure you can go into about, pretty sure you can go into about anything from wave hands like clouds. So explore that. Find the martial intent. Even take it if you want, or begin your training in understanding the shadow opponent in our basic walking the rails with rotations exercise. All right, we have the ball and we rotate. the reality of the ball actually starts to build our physical and visual imagination that we can then turn into our shadow opponent. But you can also see that same pattern as I step. This hand is moving up, perhaps moving into a block this way. This hand is moving down, perhaps into a block that way. But of course, it's rotating the ball. So there are little changes to make this really a truly martial thing. But as it's moving, if you can feel your relationship to the ball, you can feel elbow dropping down, elbow coming up, gives you the opportunity to feel that movement. So it's not just but the movement has purpose and has meaning. So, I know for some of you, this is probably really tough. For others, not tough enough. I hope it made some sense, made you think about things, perhaps in a way in which you haven't thought about them before, that have maybe even brought some questions to mind. It's like, how can this movement be martial, right? You think of things like our transition into playing the pei pa, and we have that moment that I refer to just as a marker because it's just a transitional moment, is the Egyptian hieroglyphic moment, where you have the one hand fingertips up, the other hand fingertips down. Well, hopefully, now that you're sort of thinking in this way, and your first thought was, oh, I don't know how that could be martial. As soon as you saw me move into it, you saw the two palm blocks. One high, one low. Finishing the movement into pei pa, that's actually taking from here, that arm that you moved that direction, and switching. Oops, sorry. Lost my balance there. Boom, switching, driving the heel down, heel kick, and striking with that hand. Boom. It just so happens they're right there, so I don't have to reach out. And they're angled. Boom. And that's your movement that through the entire sequence. Here, I see something over there. I go to intercept it. I always think of this spear because that sort of my spear hand, I'm going to deflect it that direction. But I see this punch coming in there that's closer because my hand's down there. I have to route up over the top. It's an over the top of the arm block, then pressing it over into my side, switching, kicking and striking. Then they're gone. Somebody else is coming in. I intercept. I deflect them down. They're gone. Another punch is coming in. There's my block for my first repulse the monkey. There's my ball kick, mule kick, back that direction to take out that one. Grabbing, pulling. Of course, the hand is open. You can hopefully see the pulling energy. Pluck, jing, in that movement, taking the energy of their punch and routing it into my palm strike there. And then the next one, boom, boom, and so forth. So find, experiment, understand. And if all else fails, where did we start this little workshop today? Swing in air. If your movement is alive, if you are feeling the viscosity of the air as you are moving, if you're manifesting and understanding and recognizing where the expansion is, where the compression is, what is yin and what is yang within your body, then you're probably not directly, but probably well on your way to bringing martial intent, non-combative, into your Tai Chi play. So I hope this was fun. I hope, as I said before, that you enjoyed it, that you got something out of it, that it made you think, made you question, maybe made you want to research this particular concept a little bit more. And perhaps when you have the opportunity with me or a different instructor, that you talk about how to bring your shadow opponent into your Tai Chi play. So thanks for your time and attention. Remember, this is ideally, if things move forward the way they're supposed to, the last one of these on Tuesday morning at 10:15. But we will be back on Monday, June 1st at 10 a.m. For the Water Tiger for Sachem offering, with something probably, maybe, possibly completely different. And there are still our YouTube channel as well, with generally a new post every week. So I'll see some of you remotely sooner rather than later. Others I hope to see sooner rather than later, but not quite as soon, as we start to move into the first phase of reopening on the Isle of Length. But still, stay careful. Keep wearing your masks while you're out in public. Keep washing your hands at every opportunity. Don't touch your face, and keep listening more to the health professionals, the doctors, and the scientists above others who might be pressing us a little bit soon to being out and about freely. So thanks, everybody. See you next time, here, there, or yonder. Bye.